I'd like to talk about the Tissot PRX automatic chronograph, and I am a bit biased toward this watch or in the favor of this sports piece from this Swatch Group brand. It is a member of my rotation, my watch rotation, and it takes wrist time away from watches that cost quite a bit more than this one does. In fact, I'd like to go as far as to say that to date, this is the most enjoyable $1,500 that I have spent on a brand new watch that I can remember. This is a very satisfying watch, and I'll get into the reasoning here throughout this video, but I hope you enjoyed my intro, where in a slightly comical way or a tongue-in-cheek way, I compared this to one of the most expensive watches that I've ever owned, a roughly $20,000 full retail Vacheron Constantin Overseas 4500V that aesthetically is very similar visually. So we have an integrated bracelet type design with a dominant brush finish throughout. Blue is the color. Great use of high polish as the accent that really draws the eye in. Beautiful wrist rolls. Just, very unique designs that I think are fairly similar, even though the watches are very different in terms of quality, very different in terms of price, but not all that different in terms of the satisfaction that I get while wearing the watch. And that might be, that might be hard to hear. You might be a little incredulous at that statement, because we have this rule as watch enthusiasts that we have to enjoy more expensive watches at a higher level than we do not as expensive watches. And if we don't, then we didn't get the point of that higher priced watch. We didn't understand it. There's something wrong with us. And in my experience, that has not been the case. And I have been fortunate to play with watches at all types of price segments. And I've owned watches from, $100 to $20,000 full retail price. And I've got to say that there is satisfaction to be had all across the price spectrum. But generally, for myself, I have enjoyed the watches a little bit more at the higher price segment, but there is a line of diminishing returns, at least after you go past a certain threshold. I think, maybe it's just my personality, but I don't get quite as much from some of the higher priced watches than I do at some of the mid-level or the luxury level. So anyway, I hope that makes sense. What I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is this watch really packs a potent value punch in terms of what you're getting versus what you're spending. Now, I spent about $1,500 on this. Full retail price is $1,750. I do have a discount code if you're interested in buying a Tissot from an authorized dealer. That will be in the description of this video. But I look back at my experience in this hobby and what could I spend $1,500 on that I have more satisfaction with? I'm trying to think. There have been some really great watches. I'm not trying to demean any watch that I've previously been very excited about having, but I'm thinking you can go pre-owned. You could buy a luxury watch, at least a name brand with cachet and recognition. If you're going vintage at about $1,500, if you're going pre-owned, you could get, you can get a Longines Navigation Big Eye, which is a fantastic chronograph that actually has a nicer Valjoux modified movement within the case. It has a blued column wheel. That is one way to go, but again, you're going to have to buy pre-owned, and you're not getting a bracelet. You're not getting the light play. You're not getting the 70s funk that I get with this integrated design. And I recognize not everybody enjoys an integrated bracelet design, but I do. Now, I will say I am biased toward bracelets. I always think a good bracelet trumps any good strap option, whether it's rubber or leather or whatnot. I think a cohesive bracelet design just adds a lot visually. It adds some to the weight of the watch, and an integrated bracelet is celebrating the bracelet. You're supposed to enjoy the bracelet as much you do the case and the dial and the details and the movement. It is how the designer of the watch intended you to experience their little piece of mechanical art that you wear on wrist. That being said, this does have a quick release bracelet, And I'm seeing some watch enthusiasts playing with aftermarket options in terms of leather and rubber. And I think it would be fun to play with that, add some color, change it up to a degree. But this watch is made to be enjoyed and experienced on this bracelet. And I've got to say, whenever I do a wrist roll and I see the light coming off the mostly brushed short links with just a little bit of polish here and there, it really, oh, it's awesome. And I feel silly getting excited when I look at just the piece of jewelry on my wrist. But that's one of the things I enjoy about this hobby. I like looking at my watch and appreciating the beauty, the execution, the form, the light play. This has it all. It's not too chunky. It's not too hefty. It's not too dominant, but it does have a powerful stance on wrist. And some days I want to feel the watch on my wrist. I don't want it to disappear to a degree. I like feeling the weight. I like looking at the light play. I like noticing the watch. I like when the watch catches my eye. And this one catches the eye to a very proportional degree. It's not too large. It's not too tall. It's not too dominant, but it is dominant enough to get the attention. And then I look at the detail work. I look at the macro and I notice the high polish areas on your bi-finished hands and how long they are, how they're beveled. I like the little areas of reflectivity found on the surround of your sunken sub-registers. I love the 9, 3, and 6 layout. I like the date nestled between the 4 and the 5 position. And I like the fact that this looks like a reverse panda in most light scenarios. In that instance, it reminds me of the overseas that I showed in the opening, where the majority of the time you're wearing that watch, it looks like you have a black dial. But when you get it in the right light, that's when you see the beautiful vibrant blue. And this is very similar to that watch in the fact that it's mostly black, but in the right angle, the right light scenario, you see the graining and you see the vivid blue, the electric blue. And again, I find myself smiling as I look at the watch on my wrist, as silly as that sounds. I like the tactile engagement with your candy bar function pushers. I really enjoy this ETA modified movement, this Valjoux movement within the case that is known as the A05H31 caliber, very tastefully finished. And the fact that I can see it through an exhibition crystal just helps me feel where my money is going when I buy, a watch at this $1,500 price segment. I appreciate that. And also, being reminded that I'm wearing a watch comes down to this movement. This is a unidirectionally winding rotor within this Valjoux movement. So you feel that wobble sometimes. You feel that rotor spinning around. And it is a slight reminder that you're wearing a mechanical marvel that just runs off of the motion, right? You're winding a spring via a rotor, and you can wind this. It does have hand winding, but that wobble is kind of fun. So anyways, guys, I'm kind of rambling here with this watch, but let me wrap it up and take it back to the beginning. What could I buy that would bring me more satisfaction? I've been thinking about that, and here's the thing. I tend to go back almost 10 years, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, when Seiko was more affordable, or basically watches across the board were more affordable, and I was buying watches that even pre-owned, I was spending less. I think my mind goes to the good old days where I felt like I was getting more for my money. I look at the scene today, I look at retail prices today, and I don't see anything that really comes close to this. We have a great movement, great design, great light play, the color play. This is an original design. It's not an homage to a more famous brand. And again, I don't know if this is intentional, but I get very similar Vacheron Constantin vibes to their chronograph and the 4500V. I don't think that's intentional, right? We have a Swatch Group product. We have a Richemont Group product. They're both based off of designs from the 1970s, but they're different, but again, similar. It's kind of a weird dichotomy there, but I'm really enjoying this. I don't think anything at the moment comes super close to this. I recognize that's a subjective statement, but this is a heck of a piece that I've really been enjoying. And it does take wrist time away from other chronographs, other luxury watches that cost quite a bit more than this one does. And it also enforces to me the idea that I can have fun at almost any price segment, and I can find gems within those different tiers that bring that level of satisfaction that I search for as a watch enthusiast. This definitely does that. So let me know what you think of the Tissot PRX Automatic Chrono. Thank you for watching today. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.